Hello everyone, my name is Henrique Ortigao, and I'm going to give you a small brief presentation about talent identification. So basically what I understand by talent identification is how can we spot those athletes that can take us a bit further, and how, looking at the data that we can produce through our technology, how can this help professionals in different sports to take the most benefit out of that. So the points that I want to talk to you about talent identification are objective data, player selection, nurture talent, player development, injury prevention, and individual versus group. So these are different subjects which I chose, which I think are relevant to this point, and which are relevant to the day-and-day practices of each professionals, and I think that people will relate to. So I want to start with objective data. So in essence, Catapult systems and GPS technology gives you information data which normally professionals don't have, and allows them to be objective about the information they use, and allows them to build their own philosophy, thinking objectively and not subjectively only. So I created here a question basically that you could make to understand, to think objectively how you could identify talent. For example, what physical data characterizes our center forward during the week of training? So when we're looking at different players from different positions in a week of training, we might want to try to build an understanding of each player, of each individual, and why they react like that, why they behave like that. So when we're looking at data with Catapult, you can easily, on open field, our system, you can easily create graphs which you can spot. You can choose which parameters you look, and in this case we're looking at total distance and high speed distance, and you can understand different types of players. So for example, here we're looking at these forwards. There's a different forward looking at high speed distance. He has done a huge or a big difference compared to the other players. Why is that? And you could use this in a training session, 11v11 in football wise, or you can use this in other contexts within your other sports, looking at basketball, different positions, or ice hockey or rugby. So in a way you can look at players different by positions, by parameters, and you can try to create this profile, and this will allow you to become objective. So this is basically one of the points that I wanted to talk to you guys about. When we're looking at player selection, now this is something that is very hard. Normally coaches are very subjective. They rely on their own experience, their own knowledge to make judgments about players. And this for sure is not something that we're going to change straight away with Catapult, but I believe that this might help and aid them create different opinions about certain players that will help them or enhance them in making certain decisions when we're looking, for example, in terms of tactical reasons for different game settings. So example, looking at player selection, which player would be more beneficial for a specific game, play, or quarter? So when we're looking at a player that might have to, for example, if we're comparing players or defensive players or midfield players or attackers, and we know that these players have to work at a certain intensity for us to create better chances in the next 5 minutes or the next 10 minutes, or else we won't be able to be successful at our own objectives in task. And this might be a way for you to, using for example player load per minute, which is a marker of intensity, you can use this type of selection. This is just merely an example of what you can create on open field. Now what I think is great about this is that you can use this information to adapt to your own philosophies. So it's not us telling you what you can do, but it's you thinking about what I can use from it in a way. when we're looking at nurture talent, we're looking a bit at how we can make sure that these athletes are on the field and training and they're developing through the right mechanisms, right? So, for example, when looking at nurture talent, what is expected player load for the session, week, month, age group? So when we're looking at coaches that want to have a enhanced performance on the weekend or have a trip before a game, and they want to control the load and the total distance before a game, for example, these are mirror examples of parameters that you might want to use. This might be a way that you can create two different parameters, and you can look at it, for example, if this was a weekly session with so many sessions or so many players, or when we're looking at match day -1, 2, 3, for example, you can visually it can help you assist in this preparation. And you can do the same with different age groups. So for example, if you want to understand the different load between different age groups and how you can get to a certain benchmark or a certain threshold that you think that is acceptable for that age, you can easily visualize, and with our technology you can use that. So this is something that might help you. When we're looking at player development, Catapult has developed several systems. So now we're looking at goalkeepers, which is something unique. It's something that is great. It's something now that we don't only have 10 players in football, but so we have 11. And when we're looking at football, we can also easily transfer this to futsal, handball, and to other sports. So this might help even developing in other areas and other fields. So when we're looking at player differences, what are the differences between accelerations, dive intensity, and jump height of my first team and our under-19 goalkeeper? So when we're looking at goalkeepers, we want to develop them. We want them to become bigger, better, faster, and stronger. What we easily want to do is try to compare their training load, try to compare their exercises, try to compare players and individuals to see how we can reach to a certain standard. So you can create graphs that will tell you the differences between certain movements, between the jump efforts, between the dive intensity breakdown, and throughout the years on a longitudinal analysis. This will allow you to develop better exercises or more suitable exercises for that day and period, depending on your own objectives. And basically what Catapult allows you to do is to assess if your own subjective objectives of the training are being fulfilled or not. Because normally on the day-to-day practice, not many people are fortunate enough to have this technology. So this will allow you to become a better professional in the day-to-day work. So when we're looking at injury prevention, this is something that is also very important in talent identification, because we don't want to lose players in getting injured, but also we also want to spot which players are actually resistant or less prone to injuries, right? And how they develop throughout the years. So you can easily create on open field a table with the parameters that you want. In this case, we're looking at total player load per minute, maximum velocity, IMA accelerations, high, medium, and decelerations. So how can I identify outliers in my data in order to prevent injury? So if we're looking at information that we want to make sure that players are below or above a certain threshold, you can create markers that identify this and allow you to see visually straight away which of the players that stood out on that exercise or that didn't stand out. It really depends how you want to organize information, how you want to see which information you think is relevant, but the option in open field is there, and you can easily develop your own philosophy, make sure that the information that you use for that purpose is adequate, and you work on it on a longitudinal analysis. Also, when we're looking at individual versus group, this is very important, which I think is in terms of identification might be a great way forward. So what open field allows is you to create averages to compare individual versus group. So what this basically mean is you can create averages about player position, or you can create averages of certain exercises, or you can create an average of a game, and you can always compare with that. And for example, if you have a very talented player that physically you think he fits your standards and he fits the philosophy of a club or of a sport, you can always be comparing that player position with that player, or you can always compare a specific marker of intensity with that player with the rest of the team, and this will allow you to work in essence to see the benefits of that work in longitudinal analysis, and will allow you to become a better professional on the day-to-day work. So this is basically my presentation. I left here my email, which is a bit small. It's henrique.ortigao@catapultsports.com. Any questions and doubts you might have and you think you want me to develop on, please feel free to contact me, and it will be a pleasure to help you out and try to help you develop your own mechanisms of talent identification. Of course, this is a view of my own, how you can start looking at this area, but I guess a lot of professionals must have different opinions in different sports, different views, and I'll be happy to discuss them and exchange some emails and have a Skype call to talk to you about this. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed this talk.